Hello, we're back with another 3DS game review. I posted my Rhythm one a few days ago. That was one game review. Now we've got Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, the 5th game in the Layton series. The last time I uploaded a Layton series game review was, I believe, 2015. The Phoenix Wright Layton crossover. The first 4 games in this series. Well, I don't think I did. I didn't do a Curious Village review, but I did reviews of 3 of the other Layton games in 2013. I've had this YouTube channel for a long time, so that was like 13, 14-year-old me talking about Layton. Now let's see what 24-year-old me thinks of the 3DS's first Layton entry. This is the first Layton game that was on the 3DS. And I think it might be the best Layton game that I've played so far in terms of gameplay. Maybe it's just me being nostalgic for that Layton formula, making it, like, feel really good. But it does feel like a really nice technological upgrade from the DS entries, or at least how I remember them. Unlike the first 3 games, a lot of the gameplay for this one is actually on the top screen. You're like, basically the way it works is you're walking around the environment. In each environment, you're moving your cursor around the bottom screen, almost like a mouse cursor. It's almost like it's on a mouse pad, and it's moving the top screen cursor. It's basically like controlling it with a mouse, to be honest. I think of all the Layton games, this might be the one that these 3DS era entries would probably be easier to port to PC, actually, because it'd be just mouse cursor controls. So the puzzles are a little bit different as a result. You interact with them in kind of different ways. There's still a lot of there's sliding block puzzles. Some of the puzzles do have you interact primarily with the bottom screen, and then the top screen just displays a cool 3D visual that represents what you're doing on the bottom. So it really depends puzzle to puzzle. I remember when I first started playing this game probably in like 2016, 2017, and then I mentioned this in my Rhythm Thief video. The 3DS cartridge slot stopped working, and for years this game went unplayed, because I'm just like, I can't play it, and then recently I stuck it in here out of curiosity, and bada bing, bada boom, I'll turn it on and show you. It's on the menu. It's gonna take too long to load, so I'm gonna keep reviewing until it boots up, because this is a decade-old machine. But there's a lot that... Oh, there it is. You can see it. I turned this 3D off. Miracle Mask working perfectly well on my 3DS. Bada bing, bada boom. They take a great advantage of the 3D visuals as well. It's the reverse of... when I talked about Rhythm Thief, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Rhythm Thief had, when you explored the environments, the top screen was how you moved from location to location. It showed which spot you were on the map. The bottom screen was the environments you tapped around. So in that sense, it was very much like, I believe the DS Laytons were also laid out that way. I'm like 99% sure. Again, it's been a decade since I've played most of them, but I believe that's how they were laid out. This one flips it. You're moving this essentially mouse cursor kind of around the top environments and watching the cursor you're moving it on the bottom screen and it moves it on the top screen. And it works surprisingly well. It sounds more convoluted than it is. I know I've spent the last 2 minutes or so talking about how the mechanics work, but I feel like it's important to comment on that because it's the first 3DS entry, and it kind of marks a major, a shift in design. And I can see why they made this change, because they really put so much effort into these environments. These environments are insanely good looking. It's a huge jump in, graphical quality. I mean, they're not like crazy. They're on a 3DS, obviously, but they're some of the most gorgeous looking 3DS environments I've seen. And the cursor, you can see the cursor move between the 3D layers. I'd show you, but it's impossible to show you without 3D video. Like you can see it. If you move that cursor, I had a lot of fun just moving the cursor from things way in the background, like way back here, to things in the foreground, like right here. And the cursor will like jump out at you, and it actually serves a gameplay purpose in that it makes it easier to tell exactly what you're hovering over. If you're trying to click on something in the background versus something in the foreground, you can tell when you've made that swap, just based off of the 3D graphics. Ace Attorney's 3D is not that strong. Rhythm Thief doesn't use 3D for its environments. It uses 3D for the mini games. But with Layton Miracle Mask, they committed to really using like that 3D strongly. I hope the next game, the 6th game, also uses it strongly. I feel like as the 3DS was out longer and longer, they scaled back on the 3D a lot, which is a shame because I am personally a fan of the 3DS's 3D features. I think they're very, very cool, unique visual feature that a lot of times enhances the graphics of some otherwise kind of low, games that would normally be pretty low res look really, really nice because of the way that they pop out and sink in. There's also a lot of gameplay variety in this beyond just the standard Layton puzzles. Like, there's a whole chapter that is basically that we're actually seeing Layton flexes archaeological prowess, or do archaeological stuff, because he's an archaeologist in the same way Indiana Jones is an archaeologist, where it's kind of just like a cool job for a character that's into mysteries and history. But we don't usually get to see him do that kind of stuff. Even less than like Indiana Jones. We don't see Layton on archaeological digs. We don't see anything like that. And this game has a segment that is basically his first archaeological journey. There's a whole flashback. There's several flashback chapters, and one of those chapters is this like kind of dungeon crawler archaeological quest thing that he goes on with his friend, and it's super cool. It's a super cool gameplay segment. There's also some segments with like more interactive puzzles, puzzles that don't like stop all of the action to send you into puzzle mode the way Layton games often do. I think this game does a better job than a lot of them at connecting the puzzles more directly to what's happening, and it's just really satisfying for that reason. I was sort of lukewarm on it when I first started it in 2017. I was like, this feels different than the DS ones, just because of a lot more of the stuff is on the top screen. But once you get over that, it really feels like kind of an advanced experience, kind of next level Layton stuff. It makes me more confident that with this new Switch one they're making, they're gonna, find some ways to make sure it still feels like Layton, but in a new form. What else? Story. I've gone over gameplay. I would say it is my favorite in the series gameplay-wise. Story-wise, I think Unwound Future still has it beat. I will say this is the one Layton game, and this is sort of minor spoilers, but it's about something. It's about things that don't happen rather than things that do. So minor spoilers here. I think this is like the one game in the series where the twist at the end is not this outlandish, like, sky-high leap in logic that you can't possibly predict coming. Like, the twist of who the masked guy is pretty... It's pretty predictable. And I do think the ending falters a little bit. It's weird because, on the one hand, the other Layton games falter a bit when their endings require great leaps in logic in order to, like, invest. You have to accept that, okay, yeah, this character can build an entire fake town. That's not a spoiler, because fake towns are twists multiple times in this series. So that's just a really general vague. But in this one, you have to do less logical leaps, but I also think the conclusion of the story feels a little more simple as a result. Like, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop with the twist for a lot of the game, and then once it happened, it was kind of just like, alright, well that's the twist, and it's a solid twist. The narrative is very good. It doesn't have the obvious flaws that I feel Diabolical Box and Curious Village both have, like, really sort of empty, in my opinion. They have sort of empty, they had kind of empty narratives carried by a twist. This is not an empty narrative carried by the twist. I'd say this might be the most in-depth the NPCs have ever been in a Layton game. Even down to, like, the cops that are helping you. There's this new detective, this Detective Bloom guy that's investigating the mystery with you. It's not just the usual Himbo Grosky character that's with them every time. There's a lot of just NPCs in the town and characters from Layton's past that live in this town that are more complex than I usually with these Layton games, I expect there to be about 1 or 2 complex, well-rounded NPC characters. With this game, I'd say there's at least 4 or 5. Then there's even some small, seemingly not that relevant ones that actually have a larger connection to the story. So I think the story is really good on that front. It's just specifically once the other shoe drops of that twist, I kind of was left wanting a little bit more. I think it all wraps up a little bit too cleanly after that point. And I would have liked to see a little bit more happen there. But other than that, story's great. I think, again, other than the GOAT Unwound Future, Miracle Mask is up there. I can comfortably say it is my second favorite Layton game, and I can also comfortably say that if you enjoyed this series entries on the DS, you should pick up this one as well, because it while having some changes, it still feels like it's still some good Layton gameplay that made me very nostalgic for my teenage years playing these games. Now, getting this game for cheap is not, like with Rhythm Thief, getting this game for cheap is not the easiest. I got it years ago, so I was able to get it for a good price, but the 6th one, I had to fork over some cash. I've ordered that 6th one, and I had to fork over some cash to get it. It was like $100. Probably not the best investment, but I just wanted to be able to play the whole series after playing this one. I'm like, oh, I gotta play the 6th one before, like, and finish that whole set before the new world of Steam comes out. And $100 was the cheap off. Azran Legacy goes for like $300, $200 online. It's crazy. Miracle Mask is not quite that bad, but it's still pretty pricey. So yeah, 3DS, it's weird to review 3DS games in 2020X. I mean, it's 2024 right now. I just say that. I'm not going to wait till this review's not going to be like 2 years after the fact. But it's weird to review these games this late into the life cycle, this far after the life cycle of this console. There are no new 3DS games coming out, because all of these games I can recommend and be like, you should play this, you should get this. But then there's an asterisk on that recommendation that is like, good luck unless you're emulating, which if my 3DS kick continues, I may find myself hacking this thing just to emulate games. Like games that I already own but can't find anymore. Like, I have Kid Icarus Uprising, the whole box with the stand for the 3DS and everything, and I just can't find the cartridge. And the cartridge online goes for like $60. And I'm like, what? Off topic, off topic, the 3DS is a cool system with an overinflated, annoying retro market that never really, these things and their games never really got cheaper. They never had the post-system life dip. They immediately became like cool retro products, which, whatever, I'm bitter about, but that's not relevant to this review. This review is saying that play Miracle Mask, and God, I hope these games get ported to Steam. Not that I think that would be the superior way to play them, but I just want to be able to recommend that people play these games before the new one comes out, the New World of Steam. Put the others on Steam like you're going to with that one, probably. Please, please, level 5, please. I feel like if they were going to, they would have done it already, but whatever. Arrivederci! That's my review. Goodbye.